When I walked out of the hospital, everything around me seemed like a whirlwind. A simple DNA test had completely changed my life. I couldn't bring myself to go home. I needed time to think. So I headed to the nearest bar and ordered a large whiskey. At that moment, I desperately needed that drink. The bar was quiet, and I was able to take my drink to a corner table and start sorting through my thoughts. The life I had imagined seemed to have vanished. I'm not one to procrastinate, but I knew I needed to carefully consider my next steps before going home. By the way, my name is Jack. At 42, I've been married to Sarah for 19 years. Sarah, who's a year younger than me, and I have two wonderful daughters, 11-year-old Brittany and 8-year-old Sylvia. Just 2 hours ago, our life was ordinary, maybe a bit predictable, but filled with love and cherished moments. But now, everything had changed drastically. I couldn't bear the thought of losing my girls. But if it came to that, I believe that in the long run, my plan would ultimately be better for them. Instead of enduring a turbulent marriage full of bitterness and distrust, it might be wiser to end it and start fresh. When I got home, Sarah's car was already in the driveway. The kids, as expected, weren't home, which allowed me to talk to my wife immediately. I'm not good at hiding my emotions, but I managed to conceal them and even smiled. Sarah was in the kitchen when I returned from work. As a school principal and an accountant, we followed a regular schedule and shared household duties. It was her turn to cook dinner, and she barely acknowledged me when I kissed her on the cheek. I lingered for a moment, looking at her. She was just as beautiful as the day we met, though a bit fuller, as we all are with the years. After a brief hustle, she finally put the dinner in the oven and turned to face me at the dining table. Her striking green eyes and blonde hair never ceased to captivate me. Standing at about 6 feet tall and weighing 180 pounds, I'm often considered handsome. And Sarah had always been exceptionally attractive, knew everything, and no one could tell me anything. I had a paycheck, a truck, and a girlfriend. I was a man. Then the girl got pregnant, and life got real very quickly. Beer parties and dancing turned into baby formula, macaroni and cheese, and diapers. I worked during the day to fulfill obligations at my job, and at night to fulfill obligations at home. My wife needed help, our baby needed attention, and sex had become a distant memory. On top of all that, we were lacking sleep. I was tired, she was tired, and the baby was never tired when we wanted him to be. We barely lasted a year after the baby was born, and then I became another statistic, a divorced dad. In hindsight, I can say that it was no one's fault, and yet we were both at fault. We were too young for marriage, and we were too young to be parents. We were still kids ourselves, having sex and playing house. Anyway, Mom and Dad helped me out. I moved home and went to trade school. When I got out, I was better trained and ready for a real job. My dad put me back to work, and soon I was moving up the career ladder. We talked about me being in charge someday, but I was going to learn all parts of the company first. The other employees seemed to like me. I got some friendly, he's the boss's kid jokes, but eventually I earned their respect, and the friendships became real. When I was ready, I bought a house in the neighborhood where I once lived, renovated it, and started thinking that maybe I was ready to try marriage again. That wasn't why I came to the party that day, but I suppose it was partly because of that. You see, about 6 months before that, I had met Julie. We had become friends, started dating, and things were getting serious. We hadn't had the talk, but I had a feeling it was unspoken and would happen soon. You know what I mean, right? It's, are we serious? Are we exclusive? Where is this going? So I'm standing there with a beer in my hand when Barry calls out to me, "Hey Larry, how are they doing?" I turned around, smiled, and raised my beer in greeting, hoping that would be enough. But it wasn't. He latched onto me like a tick to a dog, and for the next 5 minutes, I had to endure his non-stop chatter, not even pausing for a breather before someone else got a word in. I never liked Barry. He was a bragger, a loud one at that. Moreover, when he looked at me, he had a smirk on his face that tried to look like a smile, but wasn't. The guy definitely thought he was better than me or knew something I didn't. We talked for a while, or rather, I listened for what seemed like an eternity. At the end, he asked me how Julie was doing and if she was wearing that little white bikini she had. No, never liked that guy. Eventually, he left. I continued talking to a few neighbors. Kids were playing in the pool, poured myself another cold one, and everyone drifted into a relaxed Saturday afternoon. I realized she had arrived before I even saw her. They were heralded by my daughter's squeal. The baby jumped into my lap and gave me the biggest and wettest kiss, then said hello to all her friends. Daddy came in second. That's okay. That's the way it's supposed to be when you're young and excited. The neighbors were used to the story by now. Still, I saw their posture change slightly whenever they noticed my ex. She and her new husband attended most of the parties, so running into her had become a predictable part of life in this house. I wasn't in a hurry to go anywhere, so I pretended not to notice her, continued my conversation with my daughter. About half an hour had passed when I felt a hand on my arm. Larry, it's good to see you. Julie's here. Turned to greet my ex-wife, and with the best fake smile I was capable of, I replied, yes, she's here somewhere. I can't describe the way she looked at me. Was it an attempt to be pleasant, dadness, or concern? Maybe she was jealous, care. Too bad if that's the case. I tried to be pleasant, but didn't encourage any conversation. Well, if you see her, tell her I said hi. With those words, she turned and quietly walked away. Seemed strange, as there were still a few hours left of the party, but even after all these years, women were still a mystery to me. I soon forgot about it. It's hard to describe my relationship with my ex. She seemed to want to be friends, but I didn't see the point. There was only pain there. She was constantly asking how I was feeling. Was it from a lack of words, or as the beginning of a conversation that never happened? It didn't matter. She had already moved on. She had a new husband, and we were sharing parenting duties quite normally. That afternoon and evening, I saw Julie from time to time. She'd come in for a while, tell me the gossip she'd heard, and then leave again. When the music came on, we danced, and when one of the neighbors' wives asked me to dance, I accepted. This freed Julie from dancing with other men, which she always seemed to enjoy. No matter, what harm could there be in having all these families and kids? Besides, I trusted. Late in the afternoon, as the sun set, the grill was turned off, and the party was slowly winding down. My ex took a seat next to me. Great, I thought to myself. Now what? Larry, can we talk? She looked serious, and I can be such a pig sometimes. Sure, I've done it many times. I've even seen you talk. She ignored my stupidity and calmly dropped her bombshell. Larry, Bill and I are worried about you. That was something new. Wherever this was going, I didn't like it. Why would you two worry about me? You have your own lives. I have my own life. Things are getting better. Deb lowered her head for a moment, then continued. We're worried about you. I want you to be happy. There was a laugh. I am happy. You don't have to lose sleep over me. You have to hand it to her. She never lost her temper. She stayed quiet and calm and took all the crap I spewed at her. Larry, we've seen a lot of things when you're not looking. We notice things aren't right. I raised my voice, and the people around us turned around to look. What do you mean? She interrupted me without raising her voice. She always managed to do that. Larry, please, I need to tell you something. I suppressed my irritation, pulled myself together, and asked it. Okay, what is it? She looked at me and tried to find the right words. Larry, don't be mad at me, but Julie can't be trusted. I held back my anger, but only barely. How dare this woman who didn't want to see me insult the one who did? She took my hand. Will you come with me, please? Just this once. Reluctantly, I nodded, stood up, and followed her. We walked through the house, out the front door, down the driveway, and headed towards the neighbor's house. It was Barry's house, as if I hadn't had enough of it for one night. As we approached the house, I saw Bill crouched at the side window. He waved at us and walked toward the front door. That's when I noticed that both he and my ex were carrying cell phones. He gave me a sad look. nodded to my ex, and then opened the front door. I thought, what the hell? Are we just gonna walk into Barry's house uninvited? Yeah, that's what we did. Bill signaled me to be quiet by putting his finger to his lips as we walked silently down the hallway toward the master bedroom. It was another dagger to the heart. My ex was right. Julie couldn't be trusted. I know we weren't married, but after what I saw, I knew we would never be married. I was in shock and didn't notice as my ex put her arm around my waist and slowly led me back to the table. To Bill's credit, he was right next to us. But he had the good sense to take some cell phone pictures first through the window and then through the bedroom door. They didn't even know we were there. We just came and went without making a sound. Look at that. They say you never know who your friends are until you need them. This woman I had hated for so long, and her new husband, brought me home and sat with me that night. When Julie called and asked where I was, Bill calmly sent her one of the pictures he had taken and told her her presence was unwelcome. Of course, Julie ignored that advice and showed up at the house 10 minutes later. As rage swept over me, Bill grabbed my arm. However, he didn't hold back my ex, who walked up to Julie and gave her one of the best right punches to the nose I've ever seen. She then picked Julie up off the floor, pushed her towards the door, and literally kicked her out of the house. That is, she kicked her butt, causing Julie to fall to her hands and knees on the porch. Confusion was now added to the anger and pain I was feeling. This was the beginning of a long night that would eventually lead to the healing of many wounds. My ex-wife and her new husband would heal my wound of betrayal, and then in time, we would heal the wound between us. This woman I loved and lost when we were both too young to know what love was, will become my best friend again, and our relationship will take on a new depth. I will eventually be forced to accept that she married well. Bill is a good guy, and he's right for her. It's time to let go of the anger and hurt. It took a while, but eventually, I let go of the past and started building a new life. Eventually, I met the woman I was meant to build a life with, and to my amazement, she and my ex became close friends. I was truly stunned by Julie's betrayal, but I was even more surprised by the kindness shown to me by my ex-wife and her husband. Perhaps it's a good thing we can't see the future. I think if I could, I would run away from it and miss out on the greatest and sometimes most difficult gifts life has to offer. When Bill and my ex had children, they asked us to be their godparent. I didn't expect that to happen. Myself, I think sometimes we choose to leave the pain behind, and sometimes the pain is pulled out of our hearts by the strength of others. I guess I was destined to need the lad, and I'm grateful for that. We are not meant to go through this life alone. We need the company of others to be whole. Step by step, sadness and joy, we make our way through life. Only we can say whether the journey was worth the effort. For my part, one can say that it was. I, more than anyone else, know that when we open our hearts to others, we run the risk of experiencing the pain of betrayal and loss. And yet, if the reward is the love of a good woman and friends who care, I know the risk is worth taking.